USCHO.com. This is the USCHO Spotlight, a weekly podcast from U.S. College Hockey Online at USCHO.com, featuring conversations with college hockey coaches and players and journalists who cover the sport.
Welcome to USCHO Spotlight for November 27th, 2018. I'm Ed Trefzger alongside Jim Connelly. Our guest today is Rick Bennett, head coach of Union College. He's in his 8th season behind the bench and was the bench boss during their 2014 national championship. They're just back from the Friendship Four, and they came home with the Belpot.
And we will welcome in one of the world traveling coaches right now, Union's Rick Bennett, back from Belfast, Northern Ireland. Rick, great trip. I'm sure you enjoyed the cultural part, but winning a trophy and winning a championship probably helps make it even a little bit better.
Yeah, it was a great experience. Not only obviously on the ice, it's always easy to say that when you come back with a bell or a trophy, as they so it was a little bit different. But it was off the ice that was just as important. From all the activities that we did, from our team liaison that was appointed to us, and Gordy Cameron was excellent. So I think we really kind of hit a home run, just basically off the ice, and which I think translated to on the ice during the whole week.
I guess teams that are going over now aren't overly surprised because they probably heard from the teams that have been there, but the support for the college game over there and the number of fans that they can put into SSE Arena when there really is no fan allegiance over there, that seems pretty impressive in and of itself.
Yeah, but I think I really felt that they did it the right way. They had teams actively involved in the community by going to the schools and speaking with all the students. And I thought that was a great touch. That each program had to go out and break up the guys and individually and well, that's at least how we did it, and talk to the students and get to know them, and they got to know us. And I think when you go to the games, the class that or the school that you went to, now they have a little bit of affiliation with the team that came to see them. And I think it was kind of like a two-way street, in basically doing that. So I thought that part was really well run.
When you look at the games on ice, not often are you going to see a team win a 2-game tournament by scoring only 3 goals, but that's exactly what your team was able to do. That obviously means your defense, and especially your goaltender, extremely strong, gets the MVP award for the tournament. But just maybe walk us through both of those games and what a great defensive effort it seemed to be for the entire weekend.
Yeah, we knew going in that the 3 teams involved in that tournament were, very good hockey teams, and we were going to, have a battle on our hands with whoever we played. And we knew, we're obviously going to play Yale, which, Yale's one of the best teams in our conference. And I guess if you had to pick a team that you didn't want to play on a bigger sheet over there, because it had the bigger ice surface, was Yale, because I really feel that they're one of the faster teams in our conference, as well as they know how to play on that ice. And it really made for a tough matchup. So we really had to, really buckle down defensively, and more importantly in our transition to defense, playing a team that can really, get up and down that ice surface quickly. So, and to do that, you need your sacred 7, and that was our 6D and our goaltender. I thought they were really on for that game. They gave us a tremendous chance, and I credit our forwards for coming back hard, which we needed to do, and to try to take away some of their top players, and we felt we did that, at least for a game. We got them 2 more times here, so we'll see what happens there. And then Boston University, yikes! That was again. I just thought it was the same type of firepower that Yale had, but I just think there was a lot more scoring chances, just breaking those games down in that game. So it was a little more wide open. I think a little more fun to watch, for the fans' perspective, just to see all those scoring chances. Now it's something that the coaches don't like, but in the same token, it really was, exciting. I think if for the people watching.
We're speaking with Union head coach Rick Bennett. Before we get into talking more about your team, one of the things we've enjoyed doing as we've talked to coaches this season is a bit about the evolution of the game. And I think if people haven't noticed it over the past few years, they're really seeing it in the last couple. The speed of the game, defensemen getting involved in the offense. You mentioned about your forwards having to get back, getting forwards, rotating and cycling with defensemen. How has the evolution of the game, how's that affected what you do as a coach, whether we're talking about a game plan or recruiting players? How does today's game, how has that changed, say, from 5 or 10 years ago?
I say what took us so long, with Bobby Orr in the 70s, right? With defensemen getting up in the rush and leading the rush at times. I say what took us so long, having these defensemen involved. And you had the 80 Oilers getting up and down the surface as well fast, and seemed like 4 of those guys were always in the rush. And now we're trying to mimic that, and we have. But some teams are just better than others doing it, and you have to have those type of players to play that type of style. And that's something that we tried to do here back actually when Nate Lehman was here, and just working for Nate. Was one of the things that it was a conscious decision to make was we need to have more defensemen that are, can get up and down the ice surface, but more importantly, for the breakouts, to break out fast, as well. So, we've, as a staff, Jason Tapp, John Ronan, and I have, basically kind of stayed with a similar philosophy, with that. But, I think the game is, really evolved, and as people will tell you, if you can't skate, it's going to be you better have tremendous hockey sense to play this game, because it's a very fast game.
Has the change in emphasis and rules and really trying to get rid of obstruction penalties, has that helped get the game into the direction it is now?
Yeah, I do. I really feel that not only that, now they're trying to, buckle down on the slashing, which has helped. But I haven't seen a ton of slashing calls, so maybe the college guys are adjusting quicker, which is good to see. But and I think it kind of carries up in college. There's no fighting, so when there's no fighting, you're gonna have 4 lines, and everyone has to play. So I think that's evolved, and like the National Hockey League on down. You just don't see those type of players anymore. They're just out there to stir it up, fight, and Now you take that element out. Now everyone can play, and you got 4 lines that can really get up and go. And the same thing with your 6 defensemen. You don't need just a one defenseman that all he needs to do is drop the mitts and have at it. He's got to be able to play, and because everyone's important, and I really do think the game is for the better.
You were a big part of recruiting the national championship team that you head coached, and Union has continued to recruit at a pretty high level, but is one of 8 teams not offering athletic scholarships. Do you face any particular challenges, and how does that affect your recruiting?
Well, yeah, as far as that championship team, that was there's a lot of people that deserve a lot of credit. Obviously Ben Barr, I think, always gets lost in the mix. He did a tremendous job, and we were downstairs working together to really try to, recruit that team, and Nate Lehman as well. And it's, those guys never saw, I guess that team, obviously, because they moved on. But, I thought it was a 3-way street recruiting that hockey team, and that's the way we've always kind of believed it would be. And as far as, the other thing of recruiting, we're trying to go after everyone else's, guys as far as the top guys in the country. Sometimes we get them, and sometimes we don't. Sometimes they're drafted, and sometimes they're not. That doesn't matter to us. But we're trying to go after the best players that we feel are best for this program. And when we do get them here, we try to work with them as best we possibly can in the classroom and on the ice. And I think at a school like Union, it's a school that is an academic school that has hockey. It's not a hockey school that has academics. And to me, it's a true student then athlete type of school. And that's what makes it fun to come to this rink every day. to work for Union College.
This is the USCHO Spotlight, a weekly podcast from US College Hockey Online.
Our guest is Rick Bennett, head coach at Union College. One of the things that gets talked about a lot these days is parity in the game, and people will point to different things, but one of the things seems to be the lack of expansion at the Division I level. Are you seeing a lot more players available or qualified to play Division I than there is room for them?
That's a really fair question. Tough for me to, I try to get out Christmas time or Thanksgiving time to recruit in the spring mostly, and in the summer mostly. And yeah, I feel that there's a lot of quality, players out there that could be excellent student athlete, players for our program. Unfortunately, there's 59 other teams that feel the same way, so that's what makes it fun. But it's a great question, I think, for staffs that are out there on a continual basis for the whole year. And from my personal opinion, I think the college game has gotten so much better because there's a lot of excellent hockey players out there, and there's a lot that we miss that unfortunately go other places. I think watching a little bit of Division III hockey, that's excellent hockey, excellent, and a lot of those guys can play Division I, and that's the way it's kind of played out.
Speaking of parity among the dozen schools in ECAC hockey, there's no night off, there's no bottom in that league anymore, is there?
No. It's speaking of our league, it's like you said, there are no easy nights, and that's why when we recruit, that's why you come here. It's just like life. When you get to a job, whatever it may be, is it professional hockey or is it on Wall Street? There are no easy days, but that's what you want to do for a living. So coming to a place where having an excellent academic field and many choices to pick from, and then playing hockey and not having any off nights, I think that really prepares you for life. And that's how we explain it to our guys: is you gotta bring it every day.
We are talking with Rick Bennett from Union College. And Rick, we'll talk a little bit about your team, but I'm looking at statistically, and I might have done the quick count wrong, but 16 different players, I believe, have scored goals for you this year. That's pretty much almost a full roster on any given night. It seems that the offense comes from a lot of different places. That's a luxury as a coach. Is that the depth, what you're looking for in terms of that offensive depth?
Yeah, and that's a credit to Jason Tapp, our associate head coach, and John Ronan, our other coach here. I thought they did a tremendous job trying, and this is something that we've been trying to build, is the depth. We all talk about it, all programs, but do you have it or you don't? And sometimes, unfortunately, injuries or other guys playing poorly, lead to finding out if you do have depth or not. For here, this year, we're just trying to give everyone a crack and see what they can do. And it's been really nice. It's been a pleasant surprise here in these games that we have players that are really stepped up and having already better seasons than they did the year before. But that's just a credit to them from the spring on. And I always say that the players play the game, and these guys deserve all the credit.
How hard was it last Friday? You got into a situation you're not usually in, where you had a shootout to decide who advanced between you and Yale. How hard was it to put together that lineup for a shootout, knowing you've got so many guys that can score, but you have to know you have the guys that have the moves?
You know what? It's called listening. And to me, listening is a skill, because I asked Jason Tapp, again, who works with our goaltenders, and he has shooters that go out there, and he had a great feel of who he felt just from the goalie ice and the skill sessions, and John Ronan as well. So I credit those two guys the most, and those are the three names that we put out. But I have to be 100% honest here and say all the credit belongs to Jason Tapp and John Ronan, for those calls there.
I'll go to goaltending now. And last weekend, Darian Hansen was such a standout. Has not gotten the majority of the starts going into last weekend, but then he posts a great game against Yale. You bring him back against BU, and his save late about 5 minutes left in the game on Bobo Carpenter seems to be making its way around the internet right now. That one of those calls where you just had to kind of figure out where the hot hand was.
It builds up. Our goaltenders here, based on the now almost year and a half, these guys have seen the split, the net, and we're just looking for one to really take off. Now, obviously, it looks like Darian Hansen is the guy that may do that, but again, it's a long season. We have a lot of hockey left here, so hey, if Darian Hansen takes off, great. If he doesn't, and we feel really comfortable with Jay Kupski. And, if Jay Kupski faltered, then, we also have Joe Young here. So, we feel very comfortable in our goaltending situation.
This weekend, you're going to have, I guess you call it a bye week before 2 games against Brown and Yale to close out this first half of the season. Was that by design, knowing that Belfast was coming up? Had you worked with the league and other teams to make sure that you maybe didn't have that lag week where you could be a little bit sluggish coming back from a long trip?
No, I think you're giving us way too much credit for that. That's just the way it worked out.
That's fortunate, because I know that some teams have said that that's not the easiest one to bounce back from.
No, and so I've heard. I was trying to talk to our staff about it and try to figure out what's the longest trip that we had, and that was, I think, Alaska. So, and we came back, and I believe we had a pretty good weekend, but it was like the second weekend after where we had a rugged go of it. So, yeah, it was 2 weeks after, not the week after.
And when you get back, so you will get back to the ice December 7th at Brown, December 8th against Yale yet again on the road.
Right.
When you look at those 2 games, you're just trying to kind of put an exclamation point on the first half. A bit of a challenge, though, with both of those opponents.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we've never. I mean, again, we talked about already the parity within our league, and you have 22 league games, and it's like 22 battles, like absolute, just tough matchups, and they test you in different ways. Or I should even say 22 different tests, and each team presents its own like these challenges, and I just think it makes you so much better. So when we go out of conference, we're kind of, we're starting to get, prepared, and we're acclimated to different styles, and I think that's what really helps us, and at least it has in the past of preparing, for different teams outside our conference. So I credit our league for just the way these teams compete on a night-to-night basis.
Well, thus far it has been a decent road, more than decent at 8-3-2 for the Union Dutchmen, and obviously winning the Belpot Trophy on a high-profile event overseas. That's going to be something special. So, Rick Bennett, congratulations thus far. Enjoy the rest of the ride, and hopefully we'll be able to touch base with you later in the season.
Yeah, thank you very much for covering Union hockey as well. I appreciate it.
Jim, I'm always interested in hearing about coaching philosophies. And one thing that stuck with me in our conversation with Rick was about how not having a night off in the ECAC league kind of translates into life where you don't have a day off at the office and you've got to be up and ready, and how it's a life lesson. And it's interesting to hear about coaches preparing players, most of whom are not going to be playing professional hockey.
Yeah, and honestly, I bet you could probably find a few more days off at the office than you do on the ice, especially with the schedule that they've taken on thus far. But, I really thought it was interesting to hear him talk about the ability to kind of play different opponents in different ways. And, I've seen them play a few times now this year. And, they can be playing a high-flying offense and power play like Northeastern, or they could be playing a team like Yale where they know that it's more about kind of defense and kind of gritting out a game, or Boston University where you're going to see some scoring chances and you just have to be able to stand tall. They've found ways to adjust to a lot of their opponents. I know that they would like to have a little bit more league success at this point. They haven't, won as many games as they probably would want to at the league level. But I think that this is a team that is poised, that if they can perform like they did last weekend over in Belfast, Northern Ireland, they'll be a darn good team down the stretch.
Yeah, and they're a team that reflects their coach, gritty, hardworking, and tough.
We talked to Jim Madigan way back at the beginning of the season from Northeastern and asked him what the challenge was about Union. They said they played just like their coach. And if anybody remembers him playing back in the, I guess it was mid to late 90s, that was a bruiser of a player, a big guy who played hard and played tough every night.
Well, it's always a pleasure to talk with Rick Bennett. For Jim Connelly, I'm Ed Trefzger, and we'll see you next time on USCHO Spotlight.
This has been the USCHO Spotlight, a production of US College Hockey Online. Visit uscho.com/podcasts to listen or subscribe.